Welcome back to the Brentwood Academy podcast. To finish out our BA Family Update series, we're focusing on athletics this week with Athletic Director Jason Matthews, Middle School Athletic Director Betty Alexander, and new to BA Head Varsity Football Coach and Assistant Athletic Director Jacob Gill. Here's Jason Matthews.
All right, guys, we're here. We're going to talk a little bit about Brentwood Academy and the athletic portion of our family updates. We've gotten to the fourth update of the year, and this one's focusing entirely on athletics. And I think this is a good group to get together and talk a little bit about BA, where we are. Well, where we were, where we are, and where we're going. So, as we talk about BA athletics, Buddy, you've been here longer than the three of us. Well, longer than two of us combined. Talk a little bit about BA athletics and the history of it and how important it is to the school and how it was founded and all that.
Well, I think the term I used to hear all the time was that athletics was the front porch to the school. And I'm like many people, like that's how I found out about the school. That's how I got involved even as a student was I was seeking some place, or my parents were seeking a place for me to go and try to excel athletically, and because that was my nature. So I just happened to be there at a time where probably the greatest men I've been influenced by were Coach Flatt, were Coach Dalton, Coach Gentry, Coach Webb, Coach Harper. I mean, all those guys are they were tremendous men, great coaches, but more than coaches, they were great men. And I had, to that point, all my coaches have been daddy ball type coaches. So to see a real man that was also a great coach was, that was different. And at every corner I turned, that's what I saw. So it was very influential in my upbringing.
So Jacob, you're at a very successful high school athletic program, and you come into a place. What drew you? What made you say, I'm going to leave that place for this place?
So I think when you very similar to what Buddy said, you hear of the history. As a coach, you're passionate about athletics, and you hear about other schools who are being really successful. And so for me to be able to not only find a school where athletics is important and there's a great history and a tradition of athletic success, but that also aligns with my family's values about Christian education and how educating the entire student takes place, and the integral role that athletics plays in that. That's what drew me here, was tradition, history, athletic support, great Christian-based academics, and a great place to live. Those are all things that my family is currently experiencing, and we said, man, this is a great opportunity for us. We want to go be part of the next great chapter at Brentwood Academy. So that's what drew us in.
So, the three of us are all athletic directors in some form or fashion at BA. And I think people just think when you play BA, I think the funny thing that I hear wherever I go is we have all the athletes. I think people get a little surprised. I think you've just gone through your first couple football practices. That we have some really good athletes. We're blessed to have a lot of good athletes. But the truth of the matter is, and Buddy, you can comment on this or not, it seems like a lot of our success is built on development of people that you did not count on to participate or play in anything. So it goes back to what our mission is of saying, in the middle school, every child is going to participate. It can sometimes be awkward when some kids have not done anything athletically. We're going to throw you in a cross country, a football setting, a wrestling setting, something that they've never been a part of. But talk a little bit about how the history-wise, those are the kids that can help us be successful in the future.
Well, if I go back to the early days, very few people realize, it used to be that only 4 financial aid students could participate on a team.
That's right.
So you're talking about 4 people, and not all 4 of those were special athletes. Yep. 1 or 2 of them might have been, but I was always very defensive because I know how hard we worked, and the majority of our team were average to above average athletes that were drilled by Coach Flatt to the degree where he demanded perfection and toughness and all the things that discipline and all those things that you get out of football. That's who we were. We weren't about athletes. I think what he built and the ideals that he built it on is what drew a lot of people to come to our school. It was not a hand-picked athlete place. So I was always a little bit defensive of that whole idea. But making it mandatory for kids to participate, it can be awkward. I got to live that with my own daughters, who are not athletic per se, and I think my youngest daughter was, as a sixth grader, was the only sixth grade girl on the cross country team, which that's not how she would have written the story. Yep. But to this day, some of those people are still some of her best friends, and those are her best memories. Under Coach Cheeseman's guidance, who was, she was legendary as a cross country coach. What she got from her was the discipline, and the same thing I got in football. It's just a different sport. Never even would have put her running shoe on had it not been, hey, hon, you're going to have to go do this. So I was the dad and the AD at the same time, and it was a blessing, and she wouldn't take that back at this point.
So I think the other side of that coin is you'll see this as we and again, being in the admission world, I think we run into it all the time. I'm not going to go to Brentwood Academy. All they have over there is athletics. All they have are athletes, and they care about athletics. I think the three of us are sitting here. A lot of it's because of athletics, but I think the mission of the school is what drew us in. So, I mean, you're new. You're going to be meeting with a lot of new families. What do you say to A, the family that says, hey, we're all about athletics, or number two, I can't go there because they're all about athletics and I am not that good of an athlete. So
Sure. Well, I think to answer your first question, what would I say would be, we believe athletics is a huge part of the middle school, upper school experience at Brentwood Academy. And there's more than one way to be involved in athletics. Not everybody who's interested in being part of our football program has to be trying to be a starting quarterback or the starting middle linebacker. There's a ton of different roles that go into an athletic program that all provide value. So I think the overarching life lesson we want kids to learn from being involved in athletics is, how do you be part of a team? How do you understand your role and do your role in a way that benefits everyone else around you? Because we're all counting on you in some capacity to provide value for our team. Not all of those roles look the exact same, but everyone's got an opportunity to bring value to the team and make the team better. And so I think athletics, yes, we want to compete. Yes, we want to win. But I think athletics, when done appropriately, is a vehicle for kids to learn about themselves and learn life lessons early on in an environment where they're supported, where they can fail with guardrails around them, gain instruction from that failure, and learn how to do it better, which I think ultimately is coaches and parents and administrators, that's what we want for our kids, is to learn and grow, be stretched, understand what it takes to be successful. How do you rebound once you do kind of fail a little bit? What's your recourse when you do that? So I think athletics is a great vehicle for kids to learn about themselves and learn about life. Your second question about, I'm not that great of an athlete. I think that's where coaches are paid to coach. Our job is to help develop students. So, our mission statement talks about challenging and nurturing. So our job is to not just get kids where they are and keep them there. We want to grow them and develop them over their time in our programs, whatever program it is. The same thing on the athletic side or the academic side. Some kid may not be a great math student the day they show up, but if they put in the time and they put in the work and they trust the process of getting better, we believe we have a great staff of teachers at our school that over time that kid's going to develop and they're going to reach their highest level of output. And I think that's what we want to do, is help kids grow and maximize their potential while they're in our programs, whether it's an athletic or academic program. But especially in the athletic world, we know people arrive at different stages, people mature at different stages. people's background knowledge of a certain sport or skill set is different. Our job is to take them from point A to point B and help them grow and maximize what they have. So when they leave our programs, they've improved under their time with us at Brentwood Academy.
So as I'm sitting here talking to you guys, I mean, it's just two different extreme stories about BA. Buddy, historically, you've been over middle school. I mean, BA upper school athletics is known, I mean, statewide, region-wide, southeast-wide, sometimes national-wide. But our middle school athletic program is pretty good. And I think a lot of people that are sitting here either watching or listening to this don't really understand how complicated it is to get, 300 students in and out of different sports at different times. Talk a little bit about what you think the best part of our middle school athletic program is.
Well, I would hope that the best part is the balance between learning how to win and at the same time just growing as a middle school student, a middle school kid. It doesn't need to be the end all. I know Nancy used to always say, I hope 8th grade is not the best year of your life. I hope that's not the best team you're ever on. Yeah. And so I've taken that approach a little bit sometimes, and I think I'll never forget when I think about middle school athletics. I thought Coach Flatt tricked me a long time ago when I was young and just beginning to coach. I obviously wanted to be with him on the high school staff, and he looked at me and said, "Well, I've got coaches on the high school staff, and I'm doing all the coaching anyway. I don't need any more coaches here. I need somebody running the middle school team that knows what they're doing and gets them ready for us." And at that time, that sounded really important. So I don't know if he was just trying to get rid of me, if he really meant that, but I've bought it all these years. And so I've always thought that the middle school process needs to mimic what the upper school looks like, so it's not a shock when you step to the next level. So I don't know if that answers your question, but those two things are always come to mind.
I think middle schoolers are so awkward, and I mean that in a loving way. They're trying to figure out, are they a football player, are they a wrestler, are they baseball? They're trying to do all that stuff, and we bring them in and we say, you have to do something. And some of the parents in our interviews, the way they look at you, it's like, you're kidding me. No, you have to do something. And you give them that list of sports, and they're like, but we've never done anything. Well, it's so important to our school that I think that is a huge advantage for us from a school perspective, from an athletic perspective, because our kids are trying things. If they want to do pole vault, I mean, at the track meet the other day, our team was the only one with the pole vault team. And I mean, they're not clearing very high heights, but they're practicing it now. And we're identifying a couple of them, sir.
And they're scoring points.
Yeah, we're scoring points. So at some point, it's becoming a focus of our school, and we're sitting there going, this is a great kind of precursor of what we're going to have in the future. And it goes the other way, too. Some kids say, you know what? Whatever it is, volleyball is not my deal. I'm going to go run cross country. So I think that's a big deal for us. Now, Jacob, once we get into high school, it's not a mandatory thing, but it's an expectation. We want you to do things. We have a certain number of students that aren't participating athletically, but from just a sheer numbers perspective, if we don't have participation from athletes, from students, it's going to be hard for us to compete at this level or at any level with similar schools that have twice as many students as us.
Sure.
So
yeah, I think
talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think you can approach that from a couple different ways. I think obviously when you talk about a young person developing physically and competing as an athlete, there's a lot of value that comes with doing more than one thing. As a guy growing up who played baseball, and you see kids who specialize incredibly early, and just the number of 14, 15, 16-year-old guys having Tommy John surgery because all they do is play baseball, and they throw a baseball every day of the year. I'm not against guys who play baseball. I was one of those guys. But I think when you have a successful athletic program at a high school level, and one that maybe doesn't have as many numbers as people you're competing against, generally that means your best athletes, your best competitors are doing that across multiple platforms. It doesn't mean maybe your best football player is your best basketball player, but it does mean that football player can help add and contribute to the basketball team and help make the basketball team better. And then I look at it from where a lot of kids want to be at the end of their high school career. They want to go maybe play at the next level and have an opportunity to go compete in college. And as we see some of our kids being recruited and things like that, a common question from college coaches across the country on every level is, what other sports do you play? Because coaches know the value of kids competing in different arenas and the skill sets that are required and even the mentality of playing different sports and the tactics of different sports. College coaches largely across the board value students who compete in more than one activity. And so I think for us, we're going to be at our best when activity levels are high and our players compete in many different types of competition, many different sports. And so that makes them individually, I think, better and maybe even a more well-rounded athlete. But I also think it helps round out our entire athletic program and helps our entire athletic program be better as well.
Let's touch something from a it's probably more of a touchy subject than we needed to get into today, but I think it's important because I think we're all dealing with it. Buddy, you've had children come through here. I've had children come through here. Jacob, you have one coming next year, and a long line of kids that are coming after that. Let's talk about parents and how difficult it is for any parent to see their child. You talked a little bit about that earlier, Buddy, with your daughter, but how difficult it is to see them go through some heartache, to go through, I'm not the starter, I didn't make the team. Talk a little bit about why we think, because I mean that's a big deal for me. When we go through cuts in middle school, those are hard days. I know it's a hard day for you, but it's a hard day for the coaches, it's a hard day for the parents, and a hard day for the kids. But there's something in me that thinks there's something valuable in that. We're not celebrating, woohoo, that kid got cut. But there's something valuable about a kid working for something. But when that happens, sometimes parents come at us like, hey, why would you do that? I mean, how many times have we heard, you're a Christian school, you shouldn't be cutting? What are the reasons, number one, that we cut? And number two, what do you think the best thing we could say from a parent perspective of, let your child go through this? It's important. And that's either one of y'all, but yeah.
Well, I can handle the practical part of that. Probably is the most practical part is specific sports or teams. You've got to have some limitations due to resources, especially number of coaches. If you had unlimited number of coaches, you could break them down to level by level by level by level and never stop. But that's not where we are. And the practical part is to be able to coach effectively, you've got to have a respectable number of players to get something accomplished. So I think the byproduct of that is, some kids love the idea of playing and maybe have never really invested the time or energy, but enjoy watching it or just enjoy that sport in general. To go through 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and really not have the skill set to make that go any farther, you're delaying the inevitable in that point. And, to me, it's their time's going to be better spent finding what they really are skilled at. And just delaying that because of the awkwardness of cuts is, I understand how that's not fun, but there's nobody that I've told every parent, there's not a single person that hates it worse than the coach. It's I look at that every time we have that comes up, and each season the coach just looks at you and just says, "Oh my gosh, I cannot stand cuts. Nobody wants to do it, but it's a practical part of the process. And the byproduct for the student is they're probably going to land in a place where their time is better spent.
Anything to add?
Yeah, I think it's hard as a parent to let your kids struggle, and I think I'm learning that as a dad. Everything in me when I feel like my kid is hurt or upset or struggling, even as a coach, like my first reaction a lot of times is I want to jump in and help them, and I want to jump in and even rescue them or save them. And I think at times, yes, big life thing, absolutely. We don't want to not support our kids. But I do think there is something to allowing your kid to struggle through something and to learn the character traits that are associated with that. And, I try to look at it from a big post-graduation perspective. If our kids, my kids, have never experienced failing at something or not reaching their goal or not succeeding before they walk out of my house, knowing that as an adult, there are going to be days where they don't succeed. There are going to be times where they don't meet a mark, whether it's professionally or relationally or whatever. I think there's something about how do we respond if and when things don't go our way. And so I think that's a hard thing to do, but it's a valuable skill because we want to build resilient young men and young women who know how to handle adversity and know how to handle and respond to adversity and grow because they went through a challenging time or season. So I think when we do those things, there's a platform and an opportunity as parents and coaches to help model and teach our young people how do we respond when it doesn't go the way we thought it was going to go. How do we respond when I feel like I didn't meet my own potential or my own expectation? And then what do I do after that? I think it's a great life lesson.
Our time's running short, but I want to get one more thing, kind of building on that, what Jacob was talking about. Our kids are watching somebody else. Middle schoolers watching high schoolers are watching college people. Talk a little bit about, from your perspective, how much effect is what's happening in college affecting what's happening here with our kids, and a couple different perspectives from that. The transfer portal, that's one piece. The NIL stuff, that's another piece. Those two things can be seen as counter to what we're teaching here. But our kids are watching it, and there's a lot of success going both ways from it. Number one, how do you think we should approach that from a Brentwood Academy standpoint? Our kids are watching it and are living it, and they're going to want a lot of that stuff. But we don't want our kids coming here for a year. I tell every kid that comes through the admission process, we're accepting you because we want you to graduate from here. Mm-hmm. But the world is telling you if things aren't successful, go find something new. So talk a little bit about that influence in either one of y'all.
Well, it's natural. Everything is going to filter down. I mean, I've seen that over the years, especially from high school from college to high school. That's a natural thing. It hasn't affected us day to day yet, but I do think it's an undercurrent to what's going on. If I don't see a path where I'm going to be a starter by the time I'm a junior, then I'm going to go to a different school and
even shopping around, and even kids that are coming to BA are posting, I've signed with BA. It's just, it is filtering through here. Yeah. You're right. So what do you got?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of previous to, my previous answer, a little bit of, I think we're countercultural at BA, and we're different. And I think we stand on being different. And I think part of our message would be is, what are you going to do when it gets tough? And I think maybe the natural or easy path of least resistance is, well, the grass has to be greener over there.
Yep.
And I don't like what's happening here. So the only option is I'm just going to leave. I heard a guy say one time, the grass is greener where you water it, not necessarily on the other side of the fence. And so to me, I think it's about teaching kids, you're going to go through hard things in life. There are going to be times when the easiest option would be to quit. But what are we doing if we always take the easiest, quickest departure from something where we're struggling? And I think, again, it goes back to if we're doing athletics the right way and we're using athletics as an opportunity to teach kids about life, what do we do in life when things get hard?
That's right.
What am I going to do when my marriage is hard? There are hard days. Parenting, there are hard days. I don't want to develop a habit of when it's hard, I leave. When it's hard, I leave. When it's hard, I quit.
Yeah.
Because what am I going to do when I'm a father? What am I going to do what if you go on and you're an entrepreneur and you own a business and you employ tens or hundreds or thousands of people and it gets really hard and everybody's counting on you? You just going to quit? I think it's an opportunity for us to not address people's concerns and, hey, I want to know where I fit and all these things, and I want to get developed and I want to have a chance to compete. Those are all valid. But I think if all we ever do when things get tough is look for the next quickest, fastest, easiest way out, I think that develops a habit over time potentially where, okay, now that your competing and athletic days are over, what life habits have you developed on how to deal with adversity? And if all we've done is teach kids, whether it's through professional or collegiate or high school athletics, that when you don't get what you want, you just quit, I think that sets up a dangerous precedent for young people turning into young adults who we would all agree, the children are our future. And so what are we teaching them from a young age through athletics that's preparing them for life after athletics?
Last thing, we've talked about the past. We're going to talk about the future. Just quickly, what do you see are the keys to us continuing our success in the future?
Well, I think it's, quite honestly, I think it's the ability to continue to attract good coaches who attract good players.
Yeah.
No matter how hard you work, you got to have some skill set to progress.
And I want to clarify, when you say good coaches, good players, you're not talking about that can get the superstars.
No, I'm not talking about
that's elite. A part of it. That's a part of it, but that's not the only part of it.
No, I'm just saying it's
talking about the Tucker Yorks, those types of kids. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, kids that are capable, but not they may not stand out the first day you see them.
Yeah.
It's like anything you work on daily. It's gonna take shape and be better. And but the ability to continue to attract those two things, to me, are the lifeblood to having a strong athletic program.
Agreed. Jacob, anything different?
No, I think Buddy's spot on, and I think the way our personnel helps develop our programs, I think it's about creating an atmosphere where the people who are here go, man, this is the spot for me. I am so glad we made this decision, and hopefully doing it in a way where those who may be considering, okay, where am I going to take my kid in middle school in this greater Nashville area go, man, I've got friends who go to BA. I've heard incredible things. That program over there is awesome. The academics are awesome. The kids are getting poured to. They're being taught more than just X's and O's or pluses and minuses, but they're truly developing kids. We talk about the triangle. Mm-hmm. My kid's going to get poured into academically for sure, athletically, but also spiritually. And we create an environment with great personnel, great kids, where anyone else who's considering their options goes, I want my kid to be a part of that. And so I think that's where we as a group all work together to say, we want to create a highly competitive, highly successful, highly positive environment where other people want to be a part of what we're doing here.
I think I would agree with exactly what you were both saying. I mean, I think it's our mission. I think we have a unique mission. Again, there's no other place you can go to in Nashville, Tennessee, or a lot further radius than that you can get the high-level athletics that we're getting here, the high-level academics, and talk to them through Scripture the gospel of Jesus Christ. And I think that's just unheard of in these days. And when people are trying to define, some schools, as weird as it would be, can't even tell you what the difference between a man and a woman is. We're going to say that at this school, and we're going to say it boldly, but we're going to say it through the lens of Scripture. Yeah. And that's something that a lot of schools can't do. So anyway, appreciate your guys' time today. I think this is exciting because I think every time there's a different change, athletic director, football coach, or any other thing, people get worried about, are we pivoting from what this was? I love what you said the other day. New era, same program. What did you say?
Same tradition.
Same tradition, new era. I think it's great. So we're excited about the new era. So appreciate y'all.
Thanks.